Hey guys, it's Phae and this is Day with Phae. Today I'm going to be showing you guys what you get with DNAfit, specifically the health link that you get if you are a 23andMe customer. Now you don't need to have 23andMe at all to use DNAfit. You can go through DNAfit. Since I already had 23andMe, it was really easy to do. All I had to do was download my DNA genome, which sounds really weird and super fancy, and then I uploaded it to DNAfit. It really only took about 5 minutes for the 23andMe DNA to be uploaded and have my reports ready. So I'm going to go over my results for the first time. Super excited. Okay, so there are two things that you can get with the 23andMe. You can get the body link, which specifies on diet and exercise, but then the health link also includes a mental component to it. Timestamps are going to be in the description below for when each part of my DNA results begin and ends. I got you guys. Okay, so first up, I'm going to look at the fitness genetics, my exercise and fitness response. It says, welcome to your fitness report. Let's make your training and exercise choices more personal. We are looking at everything from training intensity to sports injury predisposition. Remember, your genetic makeup is only one part of the picture. It is not a method of prediction or of identifying talent. We cannot use genetics to change our goal, rather to help that goal on a more personalized level, whatever that goal may be. Let's do my training intensity response. Right now it says 51%/49%. Now I don't really know what that means, so let's learn. Choosing what kind of workout to do can be a confusing business, and our experience in what works can differ dramatically too. The good news is that no matter our genetic profile, we all improve from exercise. What our genetics can influence, however, is our individual response to different types of exercise stimuli. We've all experienced this one way or another. If we work out in a group, all of the similar fitness levels and on the same training program, we see differences in the way individuals respond to that program. So what we are looking for in this section is how to better understand your personal genetic response to different types of exercise training so we can make better informed decisions about how to focus our training choices. I am 51% power, 49% endurance. That is pretty much like 50-50, so that's kind of cool, I guess. It says, in your training, mix power and endurance activities to benefit from your intermediate profile. Your genetic profile is almost equally balanced between power and endurance dominance. You'd benefit from including mixed activities in your training plan. That's actually really funny because what I've noticed the best outcome for my body personally is when I do something that's cardio driven, like dance, also using my body weight in the form of like Pilates. That's something I've noticed is when my body really responds the best. So I guess that is that power and endurance. Whatever the spectrum of higher to lower intensity workouts are for your goal, your power/endurance score can be used to influence how often we focus on one end of the spectrum compared to the other. So I should do mix. And then it says, how common is my power endurance response? The percentage of people who do have that, it's 50 to 54%. And people have that. 50% of people use it. I have a 50-50 DNA power endurance response. Makes sense. I'm just kidding. Now we're gonna go to aerobic response. It says high response, but let's open the full results. Let's discover how your genetics influence your VO2 max training response. I'm not very well versed in terms of fitness lingo, so I'm glad that they spell it out for someone who is a newbie in terms of that world. Certain genetic variants can impact how well we use oxygen for energy during exercise. VO2 max is the most popular measure of how well we utilize oxygen during exercise. Looking at VO2 max is a very commonly used metric for anyone interested in aerobic fitness, I love that stuff, or with an endurance sport goal. When working out, the harder we work, the more oxygen we can consume to produce energy. We all have a certain maximum point that we can reach with very hard exercise where we can no longer use more oxygen. This point is called the VO2 max. Many athletes aim to increase this maximum point as a means to better endurance performance amongst other metrics. So from very low to very high, I have a high aerobic training response, which suggests that I would expect to see a higher than normal rate of improvement from aerobic training. That is true. I have definitely noticed that. I remember my first Zumba class. Ooh, I was dead. But then, now I do it and I'm fine. I had a very nice progression in getting better with being able to breathe during my dance classes. I love genetic tests. I feel like I just learn more about myself and it's cool. So next, I'm going to look at my genetic recovery profile. Recovery is an integral part of every training program. Choosing the right recovery is personal. When exercising, some people are lucky enough to recover very quickly. They are ready to exert themselves again after very little rest, whereas others don't seem to bounce back quite as fast, needing a longer break between hard training bouts. Research has shown that certain genetic variations infer a delayed recovery from hard exercise training. Those with these markers should take extra care with their training plan and nutrition strategy. So I have a fast genetic recovery profile. Okay, that's cool. Sometimes I feel like everyone else, I will work out and my legs are just dead for 1 or 2 days. I don't know if that's fast, but could also be from probably a lot of other factors such as like my diet. I do eat vegan, and I don't do a great job of having omega-3s, even though I have supplements like right in my kitchen, but apparently that's supposed to help. So stuff like that. Your DNAfit assessment did not detect variations in genes that could alter free radical clearance. However, strenuous exercise does lead to increased free radical production. Your DNAfit assessment indicates variation in genes related to immune support and recovery. In order to complement this genetic component, DNAfit recommends that you include omega-3 fatty acids in your daily diet. What did I tell y'all? I said that before I looked at it, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I really need to get better at that. I literally don't eat fish in any way, so I need to be better about that, and this is reminding me of that. Generally, it's recommended that at least 48 hours is taken as a rest period between hard exercise. Cool, that's usually about the time it takes for my legs to feel better after a really intense workout. It's also important to remember that what is considered strenuous is relative to your ability level. An easy session for an elite athlete would be very different to an easy session for a beginner. When a genetic result shows a slower recovery score, we recommend considering a longer than 48-hour rest period between very hard workouts. For those with faster recovery, the average advice should apply to you. You could even try occasional higher frequency training periods with care to push further training adaptation. Cool. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, we're gonna discover how my genetics influence my predisposition to injury. I haven't really ever injured myself working out or anything like that. I can only think of 2 times in my life where I've injured myself physically. Once during ballet, I slipped and knocked out my teeth. So that was an injury. And then another time while I was moving, I was going downstairs with a really heavy box and the box was falling and I went to catch it and it messed up. I forgot what it was called, but my SI joint, I don't know what it stands for, but I had to go to physical therapy for that, but that was the only time. But again, I am not an athlete, so who knows, maybe I do have a high risk. Let's find out. There's many factors to injury risk, from our technique or biomechanics to the kind of equipment we use or the surfaces on which we train. There's also a genetics factor. This report is a great example of the interaction between our genetics and our environment. For example, a person who does not partake in any sport or exercise, even with the highest genetic injury risk on our panel, is still very unlikely to get injured. Interesting. It is in the combination of genetics and environment where we take action. If the environment presents a risk and the genetic factors raise predisposition, we are better informed to take proactive steps to reduce that risk, so it is important to understand your genetic risk. Let's see where your genetics place you. Hi. Oh girl, I knew I was klutzy. I'm just kidding. High risk. There goes my NFL career. Okay, so I have a high predisposition to connective and soft tissue injuries. You are much more likely to develop tendinopathies and tendinitis with regular training. I am loving all this information, genuinely. All right, so that is the fitness aspect of my results for you guys. So next up, we're gonna do nutrition and genetics. Let's go. All right, welcome to my nutrition report. In my nutrition report, I'll learn how my individual genetic variants can affect my unique nutrition response and how to make the right choice for myself. Cool, let's do it. Carbohydrate sensitivity, high response. I don't know what that means, but let's find out. Let's discover how your genes influence your response to refined carbohydrate intake. Considering how to eat can be a confusing process. Anyone who has ever tried to make a dietary change will have experienced the dizzying array of nutrition advice available and the often conflicting advice that different schools of thought advocate. Oh my God, yes. Even if you've made your decision and stuck with it for a while, can you stick with it long term? The single biggest factor in successful nutrition changes is the ability to adhere to those changes over a long period of time. If the plan works for you with your lifestyle, you stand a much greater chance of success. This is why there's really no such thing as a one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition. Totally true. Genetics is only one small part of the picture when it comes to healthy dietary change, but in knowing this information about yourself, it has been shown in many studies to be a powerful factor in improving long-term adherence. I actually know a lot more in the nutrition world than I do about the fitness world, so I would say probably like a moderate. But yeah, there's two different types of carbohydrates. There's refined, which is like sugar, white bread, pastas. Basically, that just means you get like a high insulin response, if you will, to those refined carbs. And then there's complex ones like brown rice, quinoa, that are broken down more slowly and don't have as high of a response. When glucose is released too quickly, like in refined sugar, it disrupts the body's blood sugar level, which then can be harmful to your health over the long term and dramatically affect your ability to manage weight effectively. Controlling blood sugar is associated with a number of positive effects on our health. Lower risk of type 2 diabetes, lower risk of cardiac disease, stay fuller for longer, that's true, reduce sweet cravings. So I have a high carbohydrate sensitivity. I have a higher sensitivity to carbohydrates. This is our second highest score bracket for carbohydrate response. The genes in this panel impact the way you metabolize and assimilate refined carbohydrates, and the combined effect of your variants puts you with a slightly increased effect, meaning you are less well placed to deal with excess carbohydrate intake than most. That actually makes sense because I do remember that in my family, on my mom's side, diabetes is a risk. A lot of my family members have it. So I always try not to be too crazy on the refined carbs, but yeah, let's go to the next one. So next, we're gonna understand how my genes influence my response to saturated fat intake. So I have a low response to fat intake, and I do vaguely remember seeing this on my 23andMe results. So I have a lower sensitivity for genes related to fat absorption, putting me in the second lowest score bracket for a response to fat intake. The genes in this panel impact the way my body absorbs, transports, and metabolizes dietary fat, in particular saturated fat, from the intestines, and their associated effect on my blood lipid profile. My genetic profile means that I have a slightly lower effect on these factors from fat intake, meaning that I'm better placed than most to deal with fat intake, genetically speaking. Now we're going to discover my detoxification ability. We are mostly familiar with the press and media referring to detox as various extremely restrictive short-term diets, such as consuming only fruit juice for a day. We don't recommend this, and there's no evidence that such detoxes do anything but harm. Yes, I'm so glad they said that, because that's exactly how I feel about detoxes too. In this section, we are looking at the role of certain genes in supporting the body's actual biological processes that take place in the liver as part of our everyday detoxification pathway. Certain genetic variations affect both the first and second phase of the detox pathway, but can be easily supported by changes in our dietary habits. So phase 1, risk of DNA damage from smoked/charred grilled meat. Cooking certain meats at high temperatures create the formation of chemicals that are not naturally present in uncooked meat. Okay, well, I am vegan, so I don't eat meat. Some of these chemicals, known as HCA and PAH, are regarded as toxic compounds that can damage DNA and protein in our cells, possibly leading to serious health problems in the long run. Foods cooked at a very high temperature or for a very long time create the highest levels of these chemicals, so be aware of your consumption. So yeah, it's not just meat, it's also with toast or anything that just gets that charred, grilled, or burnt kind of thing. But I do have a raised risk. It says limit my consumption of charred, grilled, or smoked meat, and I guess vegan meat, to 1 and 2 servings per week. Okay, the genetics of phase 2 detoxification. The genes that codes for the enzymes GSTM1 affects the second phase of our body's detoxification process. However, in some people, this gene is not present. Luckily, with the adequate intake of the correct vegetables, we can support our natural detoxification even if we lack this gene. Vegetables such as cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli are known as cruciferous vegetables, and they promote your body's natural ability to remove potentially dangerous toxins we get as waste products from certain dietary and environment sources. So even if you have the deleted version of the detoxification gene below, you eat enough of those and you're gonna be good to go. So I have a normal, so I don't really need to add an intense amount of cruciferous vegetables. Now we're gonna discover my antioxidant needs. I love fruit with antioxidants like blueberries and freaking just berries. I love berries. So there are molecules found in fresh foods such as vegetables and fruit. They play a part in reducing the effects of harmful molecules called free radicals, which are responsible for tissue aging, DNA damage, and even contribute to some diseases. The good news is that a diet rich in antioxidants can help reduce the damage free radicals cause. Our genes can show us how strong our natural protective systems are for removing free radicals, and from this we can change our diet accordingly. So I have a normal antioxidant need. Cool. Let's discover my omega-3 need. I was telling you how I don't eat fish, so omega-3 fatty acids are a type of unsaturated fat, often referred to as an essential fatty acid because our bodies need them to function normally. We don't naturally manufacture these within our bodies, so it's very important that we take in enough omega-3 as a part of our diet. There are many health benefits associated with omega-3 fatty acids, including lowering blood fat, helping reduce rheumatoid arthritis, and having an effective anti-inflammatory effect. I have a raised omega-3 need. Oh, y'all. I need to start taking those omega-3s that I have from algae like yesterday. So it says you want to have 2 grams of omega-3 a day. Okay, my vitamin B and folate need, how the MTHFR gene affects my health. When we say vitamin D, we're actually talking about a group of 8 vitamins in total. Our nervous system, digestion, and red blood cells depend on the B vitamins to maintain normal function in our day-to-day life, from how our body uses our food to create energy to forming red blood cells. The MTHFR gene is well characterized for its role in the utilization of folic acid and vitamins B6 and B12. Some people have a version of that gene that means that they might need to increase their intake. Let's see. I have a normal need, so that's cool. Okay, so this is my vitamin D need. The vitamin D helps us maintain normal blood levels of calcium and strengthens my bone structure. Although it is found in certain foods, our skin also creates vitamin D when we are exposed to sunlight. Though for many of us living in colder climates, taking in enough sunshine each day is unfortunately not possible. I live in Florida, so I'm good. Without adequate vitamin D, we may be at increased risk of osteoporosis and several other pathologies related to the functions of this important vitamin. I have a raised increase of my vitamin D need, but it's great because I live in Florida and it's like the sunshine state, but that thwarts my plans of moving to like Washington or Canada where at some points it's like 4 hours of sunlight. Okay, let's discover my salt sensitivity. We are often told that too much salt can increase risk of certain health problems such as high blood pressure. Salt is both comprised of sodium and chloride. In those with certain genetic variants, that risk is slightly increased when sodium intake is excessive. It's surprising how easily we consume salt without even realizing it. Okay, I have a high sodium sensitivity. I have a predisposition to high blood pressure if I eat high amounts of salt. Honestly, I have the opposite problem where I gear more towards low blood pressure, but that's probably due to a lot of other things versus just this component of my genes. But yeah, it's to limit my intake for good care of my health. Now we're gonna discover my alcohol response. Honestly, I'm a lightweight, but that just could also be because I don't really drink that often, but let's see. I have a positive alcohol response, which what the heck does that mean? I may have a tendency to metabolize alcohol more slowly compared to others. For my genotype, there has been evidence to suggest a positive effect on good cholesterol, HDL for moderate alcohol consumption up to 3 units per day. Moderation is also advised because alcohol is metabolized more slowly. Okay, so like I said, I'm a lightweight. Let's discover my caffeine sensitivity. Okay, dude, honestly, caffeine makes me so anxious and jittery. I can't have it unless it's like in a tea form. That's the highest that I can go. So let's see. Our individual responses to caffeine can be dramatically different. There are certain genetic factors that play a role in this. Caffeine is the most common stimulant that we ingest on a regular basis. Excessive caffeine intake can also be detrimental to bone health, as it can prevent the absorption of vitamins and minerals in our system. There are certain gene responses that research has shown to play a role in metabolizing caffeine and removing toxins. I have a slow caffeine response. Let's see, what does that mean? Limit my caffeine intake. Y'all, I already do that. It says in some people, excessive caffeine intake can cause anxiety, yes. Insomnia, no. Headaches, yes. Stomach irritation, yes. So, totally makes sense. I knew that about myself, but that's cool that it was able to tell me something I already knew, you know? All right, so now lactose intolerance. I think what I believed from the 23andMe one, I was tolerant, but honestly, I avoid it because it really does cause a lot of stomach problems for me. I have a low lactose intolerance. So my result is CT, which means that I have inherited one copy of the version of the gene that leads to lactase persistence and an ability to continue to digest lactose from dairy products. Okay, so now I'm gonna discover my celiac predisposition. Celiac disease is a relatively common digestive condition that occurs when a person has an adverse reaction to gluten. It says lowered, which means that the results of my genetic test reveal that I do not have a genetic predisposition, meaning that in my case, celiac disease is extremely unlikely to develop. All right, so that's it for the nutrition component. So that was extremely information heavy, which is awesome because you are paying for this, but I feel like you do get the bang for your buck. Next up, I am going to do my stress report. This is the well-being report, which I believe is not included with the exercise component, but it's the second option. So we all experience stress at one point or another in our lives, but not everyone responds in the same way. This is the same for sleep, another important factor in helping manage my overall well-being. Stress resilience. Your stress resilience describes your ability to tolerate and adapt to unfavorable, stressful situations. Oh my gosh, I definitely had a fair share of that in my life. It's basically how you cope with higher levels of stress. Becoming aware of your stress resilience helps improve your ability to tolerate high-pressure situations without a reduction in your quality of work, health, and well-being. So I have a higher resilience. They did not detect variations in the genes that might reduce my overall tolerance to stress. Awesome. Let's go to the next one. Let's discover your performance under pressure. There's a reason why some of us seem to react differently in stressful situations. The way in which you process information while under stress varies from person to person, and part of this variance can be explained by the result of a gene called COMT. Depending on this version of the gene you have, it can be classified as either a warrior, a strategist, or a mix of the two. Okay, so the lighting changed a little bit, but that's because the sun is setting. So I am a strategist. Okay, cool. Which means that lower COMT enzymatic activity and therefore higher dopamine levels appears to signal a lower pain threshold, yet also a more efficient processing of information under most conditions. People who carry this version of the gene also appear to possess more adventurous tendencies than others. LOL. I guess sometimes. All right, let's go to the next. Let's discover my genetic chronotype. Why is that important? Have you ever noticed how some people can get up early and be really energetic, while some of us don't feel alive until after 10 a.m. and a bit of coffee? The same is true at the opposite end of the day. Some people prefer to go to sleep earlier, while others find getting to sleep before midnight difficult. Our genes have a role to play in helping to explain this variation between people. I don't know what I am. I feel like sometimes I'm both. Oh, look, I'm mixed. It suggests that I have a genetic predisposition to an intermediate chronotype, which means my circadian rhythms are regulated in a way that lends you to have higher hormonal activity during the middle of the day. How do my genetics affect my sleep quality? I am a light sleeper. I am. It's awful. On average, people with my genotype tend to wake more times overnight and to be lighter sleepers. How do my genetic response to caffeine affect my sleep? It's probably really high. Let's go and find out. I have a higher disturbance. My genotype indicates that I'm predisposed to sleep disturbances if I have caffeine too close to my bedtime. So wait, you're telling me there's people who could have caffeine right before sleeping and they're fine and they can go to bed? Okay. So that is it for the well-being report. It is getting super dark, so I think I'm gonna continue the rest of the DNAfit stuff tomorrow. Good morning, guys. So I was actually looking at the DNAfit website, and the stuff that I had left are all kind of like add-ons or cool little things that you can do. I was gonna look all cute for the second part of this video, but hey, I'm gonna work out soon, and this is about working out, so I figured it's okay. So the next part of the DNAfit that I did not go over is the SnapShot, but it is something that I have to purchase. Hey, Bubba. So that does not come included. The next thing is the muscle builder versus the fat burner. Now those are both training guides geared towards if you're more looking to gain mass in terms of muscle, or if you're just trying to tone and get more lean through the fat burning training guide, but it's all geared towards how you scored genetically. So that's something that comes included, which is pretty cool. Personally, I kind of like to go a little bit freeform with training, because if things seem too structured, me personally, I don't end up working out that much. They also have a meal planner, which is pretty cool. When I was playing around with it, you could add a bunch of different things, and basically it goes on how often you eat. So if you have a breakfast meal, if you have 2 snacks a day or 3 snacks a day, which is pretty cool. And the thing that I like is that you could be keto, you could be vegetarian, you could be all kinds of things. You also get a 30-minute consultation with an expert. I'm not going to be including that in this video, but basically you can talk about either from a nutrition focus or a fitness focus. And then you have your Amplify by DNAfit, which is a beta program, and basically based on how you test, it's just vitamins that are good for you. But when I looked at Explore, it said that they have sold out of the formula, so maybe they're just trying to see how it works right now and then make adjustments, and then it'll be completely available. But I think that that's really cool. Honestly, I really enjoyed this app. I did get this for free in exchange for a review, but I always keep it 100% honest with you. I truly do like all the information that it gives you. I learned a lot of things about myself. For example, I'm gonna definitely make sure I have enough vitamin D per day. Also, my omega-3s, I really seriously need to work on that. I'm definitely gonna be much more mindful about my nutritional experience as well as my fitness journey. That concludes my review on the DNAfit and what exactly you get with it. I hope that this video was super informational for you, and if it was, please give me a thumbs up. I always genuinely really appreciate it. And if this is your first time to my channel or you haven't yet, I would love for you to subscribe. All you have to do is click my face right here, or you can watch one of these videos here that are also pretty informational. I hope you guys have a really wonderful rest of your day. Bye.